arrive and you host a similar meeting like this, what do you think the most likely reason for that lack of victory would be? And if I could respectfully ask you to answer in English, I'd be very grateful. Dziękuję.
Yeah, no, I can. But what the question was? What about if we can't? I mean that if we can't win.
If victory hasn't arrived for you by this time next year, what do you think the most likely reason for that would be?
Okay, so the most important thing that the unity, that's true, because in the unity there is a huge support or weak support. Anyway, I mean that is really point number one. If we will not have enough number of West kind troops, enough weapon, ammunition, if we will not have, of course we'll lose a lot of people. And if we will be losing a lot of people, we'll lose, moral situation, yes? And it will be another challenge for our country. We will not be so strong in the country, in Ukraine, and that is the biggest problem, what can be. I don't want to think about it. That is the problem. If we'll meet on the 24th, next year, 24th of February, and we'll be at the same position where we are now, that is dramatic moment. I don't want to think about it. And you forget all your words. We have to be sure, together, we are partners. You're from Britain. Da. I see. I see. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll win.
Далі запитання, будь ласка, від...
Where our aircraft's Typhoon? Please ask my friend, Rishi.
Далі від китайських журналістів запитання, будь ласка,
Chinese journalist Felix Satellite.
Mr. President, so you said that you appreciate being straightforward, so let me be straightforward. So I think right now, both Ukraine and Russia needs as many countries as possible to stand on its side. So how do you convince the countries that geopolitically a bit remote from Ukraine, for example, China, for example, South Africa, India, to be actually on your side?
Скажи мені, будь ласка, Сергій, я вже погано чую. Що було?
Є країни, які геополітично віддалені.
There are countries that are geopolitically far from Ukraine.
І Південна Африка. Що плануєте?
And South Africa. So what can you tell them? How do you encourage them to side with us? First of all, I plan to meet with Xi Jinping, and I think that would be useful to our countries and to global security. We have a significant commodities turnover, trade with China. And, we are the countries that are interested in preserving our economic relations. As far as I know, China respects territorial integrity, historic territorial integrity, which means that China needs to do its best to make sure that Russian Federation withdraws from our territory, because that's what respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty is. Would you agree with me?
Yes. It's great. It's very good, soft step forward. І це дуже важливо, що ми одне одного розуміємо.
And it's great that we are on the same page. You see, I'm already starting public diplomatic relations here. I think
people cannot be killed. Would you agree with me?
Не можна.
Living people cannot be killed. Civilians cannot be killed. Would you agree with me?
Я вважаю, що не можна.
I believe that a nuclear power plant cannot be occupied. It is dangerous for the entire world. Would China agree with that?
Can you see that China agree? І я вважаю, що треба
And I
поважати
believe that we need to respect international law and UN treaty.
Це говорить про те, що
This suggests that China supports Ukraine's peace formula. Would you agree with that?
you see, we have so many common issues. We have to speak between us without somebody else.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Давайте далі запитання від
So,
Аргентини.
let's have a question from Argentina then. Maybe. The journalist will say that this country is also politically distant from Ukraine. We'll see.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask for a selfie, but maybe an exclusive interview would be great. Could be after
We'll discuss it later.
conference. It has been said many times that this is a war not only about territory, but about two different ways of understanding the war. It's a war of values. Taking into account this difference, in which place do you think, in which place do you place the countries of South America, taking into account that Argentina, Venezuela, Mexico, they have some roots or sub-bounds with Russia. And this, I'm talking about the government, not the people, which is completely different. So this is my question. In which of these two ways of understanding the war do you place our countries? And if there is any specific support that you will expect from us? Thank you.
Дякую за
Thank you
запитання.
for the question.
Сьогодні вже частково відповідав.
I have answered partially the questions on South America. We are interested in having relations, in understanding what exactly is happening in Ukraine. The Russian Federation has made a large informational campaign on the territory of Latin American countries based on their previous bounds. We are interested in you learning the true information. We have shared values. I don't want to repeat about this. We need to talk, really. We need to talk, and Ukraine has to talk to all the countries now, to all the countries that are not willing to support the destruction of the territories, the destruction of the states. We have to talk, because we're all interested in global security, because there are so many natural challenges. You can see what's happening around us, and therefore we have to think how to preserve the humans, the environment, the planet for our new generations, but we shouldn't think of how to occupy, how to make aggressive steps, how to wage wars, and how to create war and create military conflicts. So at this point, we are on the safe side. Same side. I just want us to know one another. We are lacking the embassies. Unfortunately, we weren't represented at all the continents that we talk about now so much. And we talk a lot, and this is not the coincidence. And answering your question, what role, what priority role is played? We believe you as equals. We treat you as equals. We treat you as countries that have a priority in terms of the relationship and building relationship. We can think not only about the security, we can also talk about things that are so much important to your business, to your people, anything that you might be economically interested in. Now the question from Reuters. I think it's in the other corner. Please. Max Gunder from Reuters. Currently, the United States still have not provided Ukraine with long-range weapons like Atacams that Ukraine have requested. Now, does that make the deoccupation more complicated this year? Thank you for this question. I had a very frank conversation with the United States and with the EU countries, and that's one of the reasons for me to go to the EU and to UK and to the United States. Now, they know. You know, it's hard to kind of realize, based on the informational space, what was in Kherson, what was the deoccupation steps, why or where did they redeploy this 40,000 men, why the East has become reinforced. They don't know all these details, that the enemy was running. We were pressing them hard. We were making them retreat from one bank to another bank, and now they're deploying the weaponry on the other bank and hitting our civilians. And we have to keep on saying and explaining that long-range weapons is about the protection of our civilians, because many partners, they have their own kind of thoughts in terms of supplying Atacams and such powerful weapons. And by the way, we've agreed with UK a different kind, but still it's a long-range weaponry, and we had to work a lot because there's different kind of realization in terms of Ukraine needs long-range weapons to fight or to hit targets on the territory of Russia. And there's, thanks to Telegram channels, there's different sources of information. There are institutions that represented many countries around the world. I don't know why this is happening. In some cases, that's an informational policy of Russia, like a wave of disinformation or misinformation. Now, in some cases, that's internal fears that Ukraine could not be provided with F-16 Atacams or others, because Ukraine would be hitting targets at on the territory of Russian Federation. But I want to tell you publicly now, we are working hard so that people have understood that Russia has deployed their weaponry specifically at a certain range on the occupied territory in order to kill civilian population. Now, we need to hit those targets and defend our territory and defend our people, to hit the weapons of Russians that are currently located on the territory of Ukraine. We are protecting our own population. We have Kherson. I've explained a lot. I've talked about the banks, I talked about the details, the streets, the amount of population. That's a wonderful city with a population of over 500,000 before the invasion. And then when we deoccupied and the people were happy, there were only 85,000 people. Only 85,000. Someone was forcibly deported, others were killed. We found